Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. So I've got a new what's for dinner video for y'all today. These meals we really enjoy, so I hope you will too. Hopefully it'll give you some meal inspiration for those busy weeknights. These are all really easy recipes, so I think you're going to enjoy them. I also want to thank y'all really quickly for just praying for our family and for my husband. I'll give a little short update down in the comments below. I'm going to try to film a little longer update to kind of give y'all a little bit more of an update than just a short little bit. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate your prayers, so thank y'all again so much for that. Now I'm really excited to share these recipes with y'all, so let's go ahead and get into the video. So let's get started on our smoked brisket. We're going to make baked potatoes and green beans to go with this. Now this is just a smoked brisket from Sam's Club. They're already cooked. You just reheat them. I had put mine in the freezer, and so I'm just, it's going to take a little longer to reheat it like that, but it turned out just perfect. And then we've got our baked potatoes in there. I'm going to go ahead and get started on my green beans. I've got some butter in the skillet, and then I've added my green beans along with some of that Kinder's buttery garlic and herb. That seasoning is so good, so I put some of that in there. And I forgot to show you, but I'm pretty sure I added some garlic powder and onion powder in there too, and maybe a little bit of pepper. This is really something you can do whatever you like, whatever you feel like is going to taste good to you. Use those seasonings. And so now I'm just going to cover this and let these cook for a little bit. It's just going to be till how you kind of like them done. We like ours pretty good and done, like where they're nice and tender. And so I like to let all the water evaporate out of them, and they just turn out so good. I love skillet green beans like this. And of course we've got our baked potatoes all done, and our smoked brisket, which is so delicious. I know some people in the reviews of that have said that theirs is fatty. I have not had that experience yet, so it's been good for us twice now. I also made my youngest some Kraft macaroni and cheese. And then this is my plate. I didn't really want any macaroni and cheese this night, but this was so good. Like I said, I love baked potatoes. This dinner really hit the spot. And so easy too. So this is one of my favorites. I've shown this a time or two on my channel, but it's the Dolly'S Stampede creamy vegetable soup along with the Red Lobster Copycat Cheddar Bay biscuits. And I'm just getting started on the biscuits first. I've got some flour in there, and I added some baking powder, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, and just a little bit of garlic salt. Now the recipe calls for sugar, but I am not a huge fan of sugar in my biscuits, so I didn't do that. I've also got some melted butter and some milk that I just mixed together. The recipe calls for buttermilk, but I've used milk and it works fine too, so whichever you have on hand. I just don't always have buttermilk on hand. And we're just going to mix all that together, and then we're going to add in our shredded cheddar cheese. And these biscuits are so good. They come together so easy too. And we're just going to bake them at 400. I think I did 420. The recipe says 450, but my parchment paper says the max temperature is 420. So that's usually the highest I go when I'm using parchment paper. But at 450, these bake for 10 to 12 minutes. I have to go a little further than that since I'm at 420. So, it depends on if you make any adjustments. Just keep an eye on them and, just make sure they don't burn. They don't get real golden on top, so just kind of keep that in mind. Just keep a close eye on them. Now this soup comes together so easily. I've just got some butter that I melted. I'm adding in some onion powder, garlic powder, and a little bit of corn syrup. And then I'm just going to stir that together. And then we're going to add in our flour and cook that for a minute or two. Then we'll add in our white pepper, a little bit of salt. I actually ended up putting a little bit of garlic salt in this, and it was really good, so I do recommend that. Now the recipe calls for using part chicken broth and part water, but I had some chicken broth I really needed to use up, so I went ahead and used all chicken broth. And I always think that, chicken broth is just more flavor, so, obviously I feel like replacing all of it and just using chicken broth for all of it is a good step regardless. And we're going to add in our canned vegetables. I just use the Kroger no salt added mixed vegetables, and I chop them up. And then we're just going to put that in there. You want them pretty, small, but really this is personal preference. So if you want to keep them larger, you can, but just to stay true, apparently, I think to the actual soup, they need to be small. Now, I've never had the actual soup, but this is so good that I'm sure if I ever did that I would enjoy it too. Now once that's simmered for about 3 minutes, we're going to add in our half and half. And this is just going to, kind of thicken it a little bit. You're going to stir it till it gets to the consistency you like. Just don't let it come to a boil. At least that's what the recipe says. I will tell y'all that this time I did accidentally let it come to a boil and it was fine. So if you do, don't worry, it should still be fine. Now I've just got some melted butter here, and I'm adding some garlic powder, a little bit of garlic salt, and some parsley, and we're just going to brush that over our garlic biscuits. And like I said, y'all, these biscuits are so good. Oh my word. And they just go perfect with that soup because you've got the cheesiness in the biscuits, and then you've got the creamy soup. I just feel like it's such a natural, thing to go together, and I just love them. So I definitely recommend this. I know it's been warm in most places, and soup may not be what you're thinking of right now, but it really hit the spot for me, even though it has been warm. And this goes together so quick, it doesn't really have time to heat up the house. So I like that too. So have any of y'all been to Dolly'S Stampede in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge kind of area? Let me know if you have. One of these days I want to go. I've still never been, but I really do want to go one of these days. But this is, like I said, one of my favorite meals. I crave it a lot, so I highly recommend both these recipes. I'll have them linked down below. So now we're going to use up some of our smoked brisket leftovers and make brisket nacho fries. So I've just got some crinkle fries here, and if you're watching your sodium as well, this is the brand that I've found that is the lowest sodium. I think it's like less than 2% sodium for a serving of fries, and it's the Kroger Simple Truth brand. I just love them because there is a lot of sodium in fries. You just wouldn't believe it. Even if you don't add salt to them, there's already a lot of sodium. But I just was sauteing up some onions there. I've got some leftover brisket. Now you may notice this isn't all the fries. I had some that wanted fries without doing the nacho aspect to them, so we pulled those off first. But I'm just adding my brisket, my onions, and y'all, you can use whatever toppings you like here. It's really, about what I think green peppers might even be good to do with the onions. However you want to put on here. But that queso that I just showed is so good, and I feel like it's the closest I've gotten to like a Mexican restaurant queso. I just, some of the brands I just don't like as much, and I love this one. It's so good. I usually pick it up when it's on sale at Publix, and they usually run it at a pretty good price. I think like $2 something, or maybe it's buy one get one free. I usually get it, but it's really delicious. Highly recommend that one. And I'm just adding some tomatoes on here and avocado. I also made up like some sour cream with lime juice, so kind of like I think they call it like a lime crema or something like that. And I put it in a little squirt bottle to make it a little more fancy, so I can do that fancy drizzle on there. And so I just went ahead and put that on top too. Y'all, these were so good. Oh my goodness, so very good. I cannot recommend making nacho fries however you want to make them. You could do them all kinds of different ways, but these were amazing. Now I've got to where I'm really liking to do breakfast for dinner, so that's what this is. This is super easy, quick kind of meal because I used a lot of shortcuts. So I just used that pancake mix. Of course, you're just going to add some water and oil to it, and I love that because you don't have to fool with eggs and all that stuff too, and mix that together. I will tell you that going by the instructions on the box for the waffles, I felt like this was a little thin, so I think that I think I would probably go a little heavier on the powder mix part. And I've just got some eggs here. I think I had about a dozen in there, and some half and half. And I've just got some olive oil in my skillet, and we're just going to scramble up some eggs. I just like to stir mine frequently, just kind of scrape around the sides of the pan, get them all moved around to where all of them can kind of get cooked evenly. When they get close to being done, like just about there, I like to cover them. Usually I just use a plate and then let them sit for a little bit, with the heat off, or even remove them to another eye, just to kind of let them kind of finish up cooking so that they don't get overcooked. And it kind of helps keep them warm too. And y'all, I can't tell you how much I love this waffle maker. It is so fun. The kids absolutely love it. It's just so cute to get those little tiny waffles. And I just take and put a little bit of oil in each little waffle well, whatever you want to call it. And I have a 2 tablespoon measuring spoon, and I feel it almost full, not quite full, and just kind of eyeball it. You want it kind of fully covered, but you want to try to avoid, it coming out over it. But, some of them do, and it's okay. It still cooks and everything. But I try to get them, kind of that perfect, ratio when I can, just so that they don't have too much spillage over the sides. But these are so adorable. We just love them so much. The kids just get a kick out of them every time I make them. It's just so much fun. I'll have it linked below in case y'all are interested in it too. Now, if y'all watch Kim from the Wads, You've probably seen her do like these breakfast charcuterie boards, so that's what I did. I've got our scrambled eggs in there, of course our waffles, just some pre-cooked bacon, and I've even got my cute little syrup cup. I'm a kitchen nerd. I told y'all I love stuff like this, and it was so much fun to make that look so pretty like that. But definitely a delicious dinner. So now we're going to make congee. I had actually never made this before. This was my son's request, and this was more like my son and daughter ate it. But I did want to include it in case y'all ever wanted to make it. But I just boiled my bone-in chicken thighs. I did boil it longer than the recipe said to. I used a recipe from the Overwatch cookbook. I got that because my son loves that game. And I'm just going to strain my broth, and we're going to use this, you know, as part of our congee. Have y'all ever had congee before? I had not. I'm not a huge fan of like the textures in this. Like as far as like it had good flavor. It's just like the rice gets more soft and things like that. And so I wasn't just like a huge fan of the texture. But my son and my daughter absolutely loved it. It was just what they were expecting. Now into that broth, I added some rice vinegar. I also added some ginger, some salt, and of course then we added the rice. You're going to let it cook a little while on low and cover it. It actually cooks for an hour and the rice gets really soft. It says it should be like an oatmeal texture. And you just basically get it to, once you get it to that texture, then it's really ready. And you just plate it up with your chicken that you pulled off the bone from the chicken thighs. And then I just sprinkled also a little bit of chives on top. But the kids really love this. Like I said, I tried it and the flavor was really good. It's just a texture thing for me. So for me, I passed, but they were really excited to have me make something that they had been wanting to try for a long time. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to have you as part of my YouTube family. I hope you have a blessed day wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.